Welcome back to the Mediator Torching channel. I am your host, Lenny Benson, and today we are back with episode 8. Oh man, today it's community over competition. And if you don't know that tagline, this is our newest host on the platform, and today we have content packed for you, exciting, and we are ready to go today. Today we are featuring Ktriggs, who is a man of many hats, as we spoke before the interview, who is very involved in the Hamilton community. And these are the figures that I aim to bring for you every episode, every time that we hop on here and cracking the mic. That's what we call talking on the mic when you go live in radio broadcast, which is what I'm taking at school. But that aside from the story, today we welcome Ktriggs, and I will do a short intro as I always do.
Well, thank you for the great intro, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
And thanks for putting this all together. It's a very beautiful space, and I'm glad to be here. And I hope people that get to watch this get to learn something about music, or learn something about me, or learn something about you. We can all enjoy it. Thanks again for having me on, man.
Yeah. Today we are diving into Hamilton's hip hop culture, community, and creativity. If you've been to 905 Fest or heard about the powerful message behind community over competition, which is Ktriggs' tagline, you know that today's guest is building something bigger than music, something bigger than himself. Please welcome artist, organizer of events, and founder of Freedom of Speech Entertainment, Ktriggs. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you so much again for
amazing.
having me here. And that's such a great intro. Like you said, well researched. We were talking about that earlier, how you did your research and gave me a good headspace when I came in here to be prepared and show me what you're gonna ask me. Not that a lot of interviews are bad when they just ask you off the cuff questions, but when you get something that's so well prepared and well thought out, it just shows that you care about the guest that you're bringing on. And I just wanted to commend you on that.
I appreciate you so much. A lot of, Ktriggs is a guy with a lot of burning fire inside him. It's the passion, and he's just a great guy who loves helping a lot of people, and we're gonna find out how as we delve into this interview today. Ktriggs, let's start from the beginning. We all of the people that know you at large, I continue to mention that my audience is continuing to grow, and the greater Hamilton community is continuing to find my content. And with that, I already know that most of you who are in Hamilton already know Ktriggs. You like to support your local figureheads, and just see what they have for you. So the people that know you first as a hip hop artist, and I did attend my initial 905 Fest, of which is always happening at Bayfront every summer. Always a great time. I love it because the people who come there are family members. We have the Living Youth Rock Foundation. It's an NGO that works a lot with Ktriggs and just trying to help, if it's with food services or clothing and what have you. So, but before we jump the gun, people know you first as a hip hop artist. How did that all start?
Well, actually, I appreciate such a great introduction, and like I said, the well-researched history. The first thing I guess I gotta touch on is my family, because it all started with my mom and my my upbringing. Because my mom, when I was young, 7, 8 years old, she would play NWA, and she would play Mary J. Blige, and she would play Usher, and she would play Tupac, and she would play Biggie, and she would play Tribe Called Quest, Heavy D and the Boys. She played all this old school hip hop music, and that's what I was raised on. And she didn't censor it to be this stuff is bad for you to listen to. She was no, this is the music that you got to be hearing if you want to know what's up. This is good music. And she never told me I had to be a hip hop artist or anything like that. She just showed me that music at a young age. So I instantly fell in love with hip hop as a kid. I always loved the boom bap, Big L, and then I got into 50 Cent, obviously, when he came out, and obviously I'm a big fan of Eminem and Outkast, Andre 3000, Big Boy. I really, even Jay-Z, you know what I mean? I'm a student of the game, you know what I mean? DMX, Papoose,
you like Papoose?
Yeah, I like hip hop in general. Even if we go more modern, like we're talking J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Benny the Butcher, like those Griselda guys,
Right.
you know, Dave East, you know, Freddie Gibbs, you know, a lot of these guys are very talented. Like, I just love the old school because that's what I grew up on.
Right.
And like, even like as much as I hate to like, you know, shout them out, like Mo Money, Mo Problems, I'm not a big fan of Diddy, but you know, that's a classic song. Me and my mom used to listen to that song all the time in the car, Mo Money, Mo Problems, because Biggie, you know, Biggie, that's one of his tracks. You know what I mean? I listen to Juicy still to this day, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I love old school hip hop, and that's kind of where the love came for appreciating the culture. But then once I became older, like, I don't know, like in my like high school days, I used to like just do like freestyles, like just for fun. Freestyle with my friends, freestyle on the mic. Like, I love freestyling. Freestyling's like my top thing to do. Like, I will kick a freestyle for you if you want me to today. No problem. Like, I've been freestyling since, like I was like 15 years old, and I do it every day. And it's like, it's an exercise for me because I enjoy it. Like, I freestyled today before I came in for this interview, you know what I mean? But so I started like doing freestyles, started doing like battling in high school and like battling other kids, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, I enjoyed myself, and it was just an enjoying thing, right? And I would do like freestyles, like post them on Facebook or whatever. And then back in like 2017, 2018, I started being like, yo, like this is actually something that like I did a couple, like I went to like a couple shows and like dropped into a couple of freestyles in front of like the crowd, and like people were loving it. So I was like, yo, this is something that I could probably, and then I did a show in like 2018 where I performed, and I was like, oh damn, like people actually reacted well. And then so I started like kind of just pushing from there. And that's kind of how it started for me to like really take it seriously, because for a long time I didn't take it seriously. I was like, oh, I'm just like, I like to freestyle, I like to rap, like it's just fun. Like I didn't think I could make a career out of it. And then now I've created something that people look forward to every year, and it's almost
blown.
But it's almost like, for me now, I'm looking back and I like almost like I feel like it's not expected of me, but I feel like there's almost like there's something I have to do.
You feel like you expect it from yourself.
And that's
like
that's kind of
standard that you've set for yourself.
That's right, and that's kind of what comes with the territory, I guess, when you do the things like that. Because like if I don't do 905 Fest, nobody else does, right? Exactly. But it's like, does it need to be done, right? And it's like, I think it does, and I do, and that's why I do it. And that's why I put my time and my effort into it. But like, it doesn't mean other people feel the same way, right?
Right.
And that's not neither here nor there. It's just something that I think about.
Okay. My first question is, of your first music that you actually went and recorded in the studio, or, well, let's talk about that one, and then let's talk about like what your first rhyme was, because I think you've seen a featured Emerald B, and the other two artists that have featured on my platform, James Favron and the likes. I asked them, what was your first rhyme, if you can remember?
Oh, okay. Well, my first. Oh, wow. That's a hard one, because especially because like, so before I ever actually did any like professional releasing music under Ktriggs, me and my friends, we did like a little mixtape back in the day, called like Ode to Smoke, and it was by like the Lit Youth Group, and it was like me and just my homies. We were just like smoking weed and hanging out and like just being teenagers, right? And we were just like dropping lyrics. But I would say like the first bars I ever dropped, if I really want to look back, I would say I wrote some lyrics to Till I Collapse by Eminem, because I really liked like the intensity of that beat.
I actually remember, sorry to cut you off, but my previous 905 Fest, not this year, because I did come this year as well. I remember you did a cover of like the actual Till I Collapse by Eminem.
It was Lose Yourself, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Lose Yourself. Yeah, but there was, when I was a kid, like Till I Collapse was one of my favorite songs, especially because I played sports. So it was a super good like pump up song if you play sports, right? So I used to listen to it all the time, like in the hockey dressing room or whatever. And then I just did like a written song to it, and that was like kind of my first take at like writing music for myself to like just read. Like, and then obviously, again, read is like a weird term, I guess, rap. But it took me a while to adjust, because at first I was like writing as if I was writing like an essay or like a paragraph, but that's not how you like are supposed to write music, right? So it took me some time to learn how to structure my songs properly into like stanzas and paragraphs, because that's why it's called rhythm and poetry, right? Because it's stanzas and it's paragraphs. It's different like rhyme schemes.
You gotta learn the intro, the bridge, the hook.
Exactly. So it took me time to develop my own kind of style, if you will. And that's okay because obviously everybody's different.
Yep.
It just was something like I was just a freestyle rapper for such a long time, right? So I spent so much of my time just like going off the cuff that when it's like, okay, I want to take music seriously as like a craft, I had to go full throttle or not at all.
Right.
And that's what I do with everything. It doesn't matter what I do in life. It's like you put all your effort in, right? Or you don't do it at all.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. And I honestly seen a lot of old school influence in your music, to say the least. In the sense that I know like the new hip hop style is trap music, right? That's what's out there. The Ghana, Young Thug's been out there, but he's still popping even in the current day. But I noticed in a lot of your music, it's just there is no how do you call it? Like autotune. Like
No, yeah.
I know probably you like to stick with the old and just kind of like. If it's just boom bap bits, that's what it is for you.
Well, I have some songs where I have like one of the tracks I have from like previous years back in like I've been releasing music since 2018.
Right.
So right now at this point in 2025, I would say I have a catalog of over 43 songs that are my own songs with either there's featured artists on it or it's my song individually. And then I have another 14 features. So over 60 tracks in my like discography, which is like I would say it's not too bad. Like I'm not trying to like brag. I'm just saying this is like facts. And for me, I was looking at it the other day because I'm doing a show upcoming next week at Mills Hardware on the 11th, and I'm like trying to prep my set. So I'm like, what should I do? So I have a cool idea to like show like the eras of Ktriggs and like the different eras of music that I've released, because over that time I've released so many different tracks and different, like I've released a few different like EPs, different projects, right? And there are some songs like Running Through the Nine is one of the songs that comes to mind. I released that in 2022, and it's a song where I use some auto-tune on the chorus and whatnot, and on the hook and like on the verses, but it's not overly zealous. Like I'm not a serious fan of auto-tune. So I had my engineer, Mason Massacor, who is a part of 905 Fest. He's one of our sound engineers. I had him just give it a little touch of autotune, right? Because I'm not a huge autotune guy. I have another track called Nowhere, which I released on Spotify and some other platforms exclusively back in 2021 during COVID, and that was again a track with like more autotune factions. I tried to dabble and try to like show versatility because I love boom bap, I do, which is like my loyalty to hip hop. But at the same time, as an artist in the current day, you have to be willing to expand. And like I'm sure you've seen the work that I've been doing with Kristen Prince, the KT-KP duo, which is just another example of my versatility to be able to have a saxophone or a guitar or, a piano present while I do my raps, right? And obviously Kristen brings a lot to that partnership. I couldn't do it without her. But my point is like the idea of creating versatility within yourself and not putting yourself in only one lane or category is what I thought was the most important thing as an artist, especially when you're like, I'm a rapper, so I write songs. I don't play an instrument. I don't sing. Like I'm not saying there's limited value to what I bring to the table, but there's a lane where I am like, I can learn to play an instrument. I could do those things, but my skill and my talent is with rapping. And writing songs. So I will obviously go to that talent because that's what I've been successful with, right? Not to say that I don't want to get outside of my comfort zone, which I do at times, but the majority of the time I stick to my strength, which is writing the lyrics, right? So I have to find an environment which promotes that aspect of my skills, right? Because otherwise I'm just defeating my own purpose.
One thing that kind of like just piqued my mind is your song "Running Through the Nine." Was it? Because I know you're heavily influenced by Drake as well. Was it a song that was one of those Drake songs he says "running through the six with my woes"?
Honestly, that song came out before. I put out "Running Through the Nine" beforehand, but like again, like because I am a Drake fan, there are some lyrics where I make like references and stuff to like I have a line in one of my songs where it's like someone tell Drake that I started from the bottom. You know what I mean? Because he really didn't start from the bottom because he had a career in acting before he had a career in rapping, right? right? Whereas I actually did, like, I grew up here on the streets of Hamilton, and like I look at it like I truly started from the bottom. Not to like throw shade at him, because I do respect what he does, and he's an artist that I like.
Yeah.
But again, every artist has their own lane and their own way that they achieve success, right?
No, it's just kind of like, in a way, Sans giving him his flowers if you're, referencing him in your music to show that he obviously has paved the way for artists and musicians in
100%.
Canada.
And you got to give him his flowers for that. Like, I don't discredit, like, sure, people could say, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, his image is very crafted,
Yep.
and he's very he's very a presented image to the public. And I could see a lot of what he does is probably like his team is telling him to do that. But I still respect the music that he puts out and the catalog that he possesses and the ability to transcend multiple decades and be relevant in multiple decades as a music artist. Like, that's not easy to do. No. And I think that people kind of like, they undermine him a bit because of his social behavior. And because of the thing that he says, like, I don't know if you saw, like, the Bobby Altoff Drake,
right.
the interview. I saw, like, I saw a couple, like, clips from the interview or whatever, and he was talking about some foolishness. But, like, that's what he does. Like, he's an actor. Like, literally, he was famous as an actor before he was famous as... Who'd be better to play a rapper than an actor? Like... it's actually, you picked the best guy.
He knows how to pull strings. So
and that's what I mean. So
it was a calculated move going into the Bobby Altoff interview, which I can respect, but obviously, as you can see, it did spark conversations.
As a fan of the culture, I see that he's just trying to create controversy, which is part of it, right? Like, look at the whole... But, like, and you know what the big thing is like, he lost to Kendrick, and Kendrick kind of made him look bad. So he needs to do whatever he can to kind of, like, shift the perspective off of that a little bit, because people are still clowning on him for that, right? As like a Canadian artist, and I'm a Canadian artist too, right? So it's like I also like hold the flag high, and I rep my country, I rep my city. I don't pretend that I'm from somewhere else. Like, I'm not from Toronto, I'm from Hamilton.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing too that's important to me in like my music, is I rep the city that I'm from, and I respect that about Drake. He's always rep Toronto. Yeah, he goes to Houston, goes to all these other places, but he's always rep like I'm from the dot, like I'm from Canada, which is respectable for an artist in Canada.
Yeah.
I think that's something you should do. But a lot of artists try to like leave the country and go to America to get successful because it's a bigger market, which makes total sense. Like, I'm not bagging on them for that. I'm not hating and saying, oh, like, you should stay here, do whatever's best for your career.
Yep.
But I appreciate the artists who do put on for the country and try to like give credit to Canada, right?
Yes. Now 905 Fest and underground music in Hamilton are both a staple for you. What does that mean for you, or what does it represent?
I guess in reality, what it represents is like consistency, right? Because what I wanted to do a long time ago, when I first started like doing performances and doing shows here in Hamilton, I used to like open for a lot of guys, and they would run their shows, but it'd be like them and all their friends.
Right.
And I was like, that's cool. Like, I get it. Like, you want to put your homies on. But what if your homies aren't good? And I don't mean that in like a bad way, but it's like, you want to put on people who are talented and are deserving of an opportunity, not just people who you like.
Yes.
Right? And like, liking somebody is cool, but this is business. And the way business works is there are no friends in business. We're going to do what's best for the business, right? And in my opinion, when I started looking, I was like, okay, we should give artists opportunities who are deserving, and then also give younger artists or newer artists opportunities to like perform so that they can get their feet wet and like dabble in the trials. And then because they're on a set with a bunch of guys who have experience, they'll have an opportunity to learn. So the idea with Underground Vibes, the first like hip hop show that I created, which is like in its 8th installment this past year, was to showcase local Hamilton hip hop. But since then, it's become more than that, and it's this platform to showcase newer and older acts, like, and that's how I like, sprinkle in the new guys and the veterans, because I constantly am keeping myself involved in the scene over the last, almost decade. It's been about 8 years. And then 905 Fest as well, which has been going on for 6 years. Every year we have a lineup of at least like 10 to 15 artists. So I've had repeats in the past, but recently what we've been trying to do as a team is adjust and make sure that we're bringing in new artists every time, not the same performances, because then it gives new people an opportunity to learn about the festival, and it gives new people an opportunity to enjoy the festival, and it brings new talent to the stage. I'm always going to events trying to check out talent that's around the city so that I can see, because a lot of artists don't know this. Like they wonder like, what are we looking for at 905 Fest? Like, and if you are an artist listening to this and you want to perform at 905 Fest, what you should know is that we're looking for performance capability. We're looking for you to show us the videos of you on the stage so we can see your capability and how you deal with the crowd, how you perform. Your recorded music is one thing, but that doesn't show me how you are on a stage. You can have a million songs
it's different.
recorded on Spotify. It's not the same thing. And I don't really understand how people get so confused with that, but that's the reality. So we're
like
looking.
There's great performers. Like there's people like that's why there is a Drake, because what he can do, someone else cannot replicate. Someone can write the music for him, like, you know, the way the masses say people write music for Drake and he's not as original, but the fire he brings to the stage, he's one of the best performers since MJ on stage.
And that's facts.
That's different from, you know, like getting into the studio and, you know, like, you know, writing lyrics, and because you have to be able to possess all of them to be able to be as good.
Well, and that's something we look at. We look at your recorded music, obviously, just to see the quality of the music that you bring. But that's not the most essential thing when we're looking at, like, who's going to perform at 905 Fest. We're looking at your performance experience. We're looking at how many shows you've done, where you, like, what type of shows you've done. Like, if you're performing in a nightclub every weekend, you're probably not the best option for a festival. Not to say that your music's not good, but you might not be the best option for a family-friendly festival. See, there's levels to it, and there's different types of music that you want to create. Like, I have done shows in clubs, for sure. I have songs for clubs like Dip and Hot and different songs that are good to perform on stage, running through the 9, you know, but I have created music that's more festival oriented as well, because I thought it was a good idea to diversify myself so that I'm not stuck in one box, right? We get, like, you know, lots of applications each year and people are like, oh, why didn't you pick me? And I'm like, well, and I don't want to, like, go in and, like, you know, make them feel bad. So I just say, oh, we've decided on our lineup already. But when it comes down to it, you're really looking at performance experience, you're looking at festival experience, and do you have, like, family-friendly music? Right? Is your music, and it's not family-friendly like, oh, every other word is censored. No, I mean, like, is your lyrics actually, like, something that can be put together in front of a crowd and be easy listening, or do we have to censor every 3 words? Because if that's what you're doing, that's not a performance. You're like, I just went to and, like, that's not, you know, like, that doesn't make sense for us to put you on our stage, right? So we're looking at people who are bringing a more family-oriented vibe, as well as people who are conscious in their lyrics, or, like, are bringing an entertainment aspect, right? So we had a lot of different performers this year that are brand new. I'd say like 80% of our performers, 90% of them this year were all people who have never been on a 905 Fest before. Obviously, myself and Kristen Prince, KT, KP, we were on the 905 Fest, but that's kind of a given, considering that it's my festival, so I'm performing, you know? But regardless of that, we always try to keep it kind of adjusted, because that's the idea of, like, promoting community over competition, right? And letting new people know about what's going on.
Let's talk about your album Community Over Competition. Now, you've said that you when you got into your music career, you are originally a freestyler. Now, you know, Lil Wayne brags a lot going into the studio how he does his sessions. He doesn't write his things. And I know you said you growing as a music artist, you had to learn differently the works, and you started writing, and you started, you know, structuring everything. So is it the same process for you? Because even the new age artists, whether it's R&B, whether it's pop, rock, all that, they do go into the studio and they use this method of punching in, which I know you know what that is. So is that the same, or do you always mix it up, and is that what you kind of like integrated when you were making the Community Over Competition album?
Well, honestly, especially with a lot of my works that I do, what I find is I go into the studio when I hear like a instrumental or a beat or like a sample, whatever I've gotten put together. Typically, it's like just like a bass line and some drums, something super simple. And then what I'll have my producer do is build the beat around my lyrics that I write. But what a lot of it is like freestyle off the top. And then I pick out certain things that I like, and I write certain things down that I'm like, oh, that's good, or oh, I like that, or I want to use that. And then like when I have a topic that I'm like trying to write about specifically, that gives me something to freestyle about, and then I build off of that and I try to tell my story. So it's kind of like a mishmash of different thoughts and different perspectives that I'm freestyling about, and then I take certain things that I like and I put them together, and I'm like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, and then over time it allows me to develop more and be like, okay, all these bars fit together, what's next? And that allows me, oh, this works, and then that allows me to continue to write and finish my song. So most of it starts with like a genuine freestyle where I'm just, going off the top, trying to figure out what cadences or flows work within that instrumental, and then it develops into, I have a basis of what I'm trying to create here, and now I build on it. But it's cool because it's a different style. I don't know, a lot of people most people they write their songs. I don't know how they do it, but like a lot of my songs generate from a freestyle, which is what I think is super interesting, because when I freestyle, I find that I come up with some of the most genuine perspectives and lyrics and ideas that I've ever come up with. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, should I just freestyle all the time? But it's like when I write about certain topics, like I have lots of great songs, where I write about specific topics, and it's a well-structured song. And that's my important thing when it comes to making music. I want my music to be structured, and I want it to like beginning, middle, end. We tell a story. This is the hook. This is the chorus. This is the hook. This is the verse. This is this is how it works. And that doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean that I'm 100% accurate. And that's just the way that I created a formula for myself to be able to release music in a formulaic way that I'm like, okay, this is how I create it, and this is the type of artist I want to be. Someone who releases clean music, who's like, here's my story, here's the lyrics, here's what I'm telling you, and that's it. I'm not like lying about who I am. I'm not talking about like money, clothes, and hoes. I'm talking about my family and the life that I lived and what I went through, and what my goals are, and that's the perspective that I come from in my music.
Yeah.
There are some songs where maybe I get a little braggadocious, but the majority of my music is very centered around my story and my path.
I love that.
And that's what I find the most like passion in. And that's where I find like the community over competition, the album came from. My first project was called The Come Up, because I came up from like not being a rapper at all. And then I created a project called Mistakes, which was like, we're nothing if we're not learning from our mistakes. And after I did that, I really cemented myself here in the community of Hamilton as like a hip hop artist. So now I was okay, now it's time for me to push my message, which is community over competition, right? So that's why I created that project, is to really show people like, this is what I'm all about. And here's the music to prove it. There's some features on that project. There's a little bit of everything. It gives you more like solo. There's some solo Ktriggs songs. There's some more melodic songs. There's some more harder, aggressive songs. And then I'm doing this stuff with Kristen Prince with the KP. We'll be on Supercrawl this year. So it's like consistently expanding and getting out of my comfort zone is what builds the community. And what continues to build me as an artist as well.
I love that. It's true. You have to approach everything from a different angle or perspective. Obviously, like if you decided to freestyle all your works of art, then we wouldn't have gotten the different themes and topics. And it's if it's this mixtape or album you're writing, it's community over competition. And this one you're talking specifically about the come up, about your experiences of what influenced you. So because off the top of your head, if you're just freestyling, then it's really not, you're not really thinking about, you're just like going, you just rapping, It can sound great if you listen to Daily Dubby. It's a freestyle kind of like show that they put together in the UK.
Okay.
And you see a lot of the artists that get featured on there. They're really amazing with the freestyle, and the content is just amazing as.
But the stream of consciousness, like what are they saying? Like, yes, they're saying stuff, but are they telling a story, right? And that's, for me, that's the most important thing, is that like every song is different than the last song. and every song tells a story that is different than the song you heard. Like, I think that the most defeating thing about like some of the hip hop genre is like all the stuff sounds the same. An artist will release 50 songs and they all sound like the same song. It's like, what am I listening to? Like, there's no creativity. And like, I don't mean that to diss. I'm just saying like that's kind of like the vapid and over triped stuff that's been overplayed over and over again, even on like the radio and stuff. And that's why I respect a lot of the hip hop artists that I do, that create original stuff, that create something that sounds different than what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? Because you could do what everybody else is doing. That's fine. They're already doing it, though. There are a million artists in line doing exactly what you're doing exactly what we're doing. What separates us from the rest of them? That's why I love the old school, too, because you had to have something. You had to have an X factor. You had to have something about you. Like, I love Big L because he was such a sick freestyler, you know? You got Andre with the way he bends flows, or Eminem being the only white rapper in the game at that time. You know, you got Eazy-E and, you know, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg being like West Coast. You got Tupac with that, like, the FU mentality, you know, thug life on his stomach. Everybody had their own thing. Even Cypress Hill, you know, you look at those guys, they were like the smoking guys. They were smoking, getting high, you know, doing their thing. But their lyrics, you know, be real. His name says it all, be real. He's real straight up about everything he did, you know. And even if you look like more modern era, like, you know, it's a little bit different now. Like, I'd say more trap is like the popularized genre. And like, as much as I respect like the music, like kudos to those guys for creating a path for themselves with like this like, you know, gangster rap or like trap rap. It's different than gangster rap though. It's not like gangster rap. It's more like trap and like, you know, like Migos with like the triplets and all that stuff. Like, you know, it's different style.
You get a little bit different of everything.
Yeah, and I respect it because rap. That's what rap is. Hip hop is. It
changes.
It's a sample genre.
It changes
Genres that we sample all kinds of other genres to make hip hop blend, and that's what's amazing about it. That's what I love about hip hop. So I'm not going to diss the guys who did their own thing and paved a way for themselves. But I'm just saying that that's not the style that I look at as like, this is what hip hop is.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really like where it comes down to for me. Like Wu-Tang, you know what I mean? I love Wu-Tang, one of my favorite groups. You know, they do a lot of like sampling rap. Like, they sample previous works of music and they put it into, you know, a drum kit and they create something like new. Right? But that's what hip hop is, right?
It is.
So you got to kind of live with that if you want to be a part of it. Doesn't mean if you can't beat them, you should join them, but it means you got to pave your own route that fits you as an artist. And I always tell even artists I work with, I was like, you know, you see what I do, you want to do what I do, but what I do might not work for you.
Exactly.
You might be a different artist than I am. You could do something similar, but you got to figure out what works for you as an artist because everybody has their own path and everybody has their own objectives, right? Not everybody's goals are the same.
And that's the thing. Like, the landscape right now of hip hop might not be the same in the next 1.5 years. And, you know, the uprising underground artists that we have maybe from out of Hamilton is what will set the pace coming forth in the next coming years, and you know, in the music, in the world of music to come, and so much more. But so much passion behind that mic. You see Ktriggs sitting right there, a lot's running through his mind. He's a busy guy, a busy guy to say the least. You know, doing a lot for the community. A lot of, you know, living youth rock resources. He's got ties with them, and a lot of different events that he got out from the ground, which are behind his brand, 905 Fest, and you know. Today, we're just saying community over competition. I would have loved to have him freestyle for you guys, but, you know, we had to come to the end of the show. We are obviously going to bring him back. That's a promise to you guys, you know. And, yeah, I think we're just going to be seeing you guys at Supercrawl. And look out for, you know, Ktriggs and a lot of projects along the way. Yeah. Always remember, there is wisdom in the crowd.
Thank you very much.
We're out.